Hello, Mel.
Hey, Steve.
Eyes. And today, let's do our basic eye stretches. And because they're really good to do on a regular basis. So it's the stretching the eyes up to look at the ceiling and holding that for a second. And then stretching them down to look at the floor. So when we do this, and we're going to do at least 3 reps of each one. So down to the floor, up to the ceiling again, down to the floor. And here we want to really feel the stretch. So then we go left and right. So it's left and hold, right and hold, left and hold, right, left, right, and then the diagonals. So it's up to the left, down to the right. So we hold there, up to the left, down to the right, up to the left, down to the right, and then up to the right, down to the left, up right, down left, right, down left. And then clockwise and counterclockwise. Making sure the palms are warm. And we just feel that chi heat go in and relax everything. And if there's a problem with the eyes, you definitely want to do more stretches, maybe more times a day. As I've said, you can do other patterns. Those are kind of basic patterns. There's also acupuncture points around the eyes that really help. And we get some of that when we do the circular movement around the eyes. We get to some of those, but there's specific ones you can hold, like here, where the eyebrows are, and then over here, the side. There's a little dent there. Underneath, there's like little dents here, so you can kind of feel it in the bone structure. So let's do nose. And ears. So doing more things with the ears is always good too. We usually just do that rubbing top, middle, bottom. With our lymphatic, we've kind of added in this one here where we're doing that. So that's another good one. But remember, with the ears, you can do stuff like even collapse them. Like it can totally collapse. You can pull out, hold, release, top, middle, bottom. And so working with the ears is going to be really helpful because just like the hands and the feet, lots of acupuncture points lots of reflexology points. And ears are basically connected to kidneys. And so kidneys and liver can always use some extra help. And basically the liver is the main organ there. Typically if the liver is working well and is detoxed well, then the kidneys and the spleen and the other all the other organs will kind of follow in there. You tap the top of the kidney meridian. And then the thymus gland. And then kidneys themselves, we can pat them. Other things we can do with the kidneys is, as long as our palms are warm, we can pour that heat into the kidneys. And again, you don't want to really do this, say, if it's like really hot out in the middle of the summer, because we want to try to bring the heat out of the kidneys. The other thing is part of our Dao Yin. Remember, we can kind of do a massage on the sacrum and then massage up toward the kidneys. So that's another thing that we can do. We used to do actually this one a lot. So besides tapping the kidneys, do the sacrum a bit too. We've done that one. So let's go to our lymphatic. And so sometimes people get like puffiness in their face. I talked about it around the ankles. And I talked about it in the underarm area. And again, typically these are lymphatic blockages when that kind of puffiness shows up. So especially if you have any friends or relatives that you're noticing things like that, and even the older relatives where, especially I think it shows up on the inside of the ankle, you find those purple spider vein capillaries kind of like showing up. That's an indication too. So you'd want to try to get them to do this lymphatic work. Actually, I think this works good for everybody to do, really. And this work is in our Western culture, so it's not something, science definitely supports doing this. But there's certain areas like, say, the lymph and the fascia, especially those two things. I'd say only probably recently, fascia people have been working with maybe for the last 10 or 15 years, but there's people that still aren't aware of we should work with those areas. Lymphatic, maybe it's only been really within the first few years, the last couple of years, that people are focusing on that area. And again, you can do the drawdown one. And I usually go to the back of the neck and do that area too. Just because that's where I noticed some blockages occurring in me, say once or twice a year. The interesting thing about that is it would only occur on the left side, never occur on the right side. So that would mean my left brain here, my left hemisphere, would have some blockage that would come up. We can squeeze and release the brainstem. And I also used to get like a little oil blockage in this upper left eyelid also. I'm just going to blow my nose, continue to do the neck. Let's go to the pecs. There used to be, so maybe a little cyst would kind of form there, and I'd have to use a hot washcloth. I'd also use two tinctures. One was eye bright, the other one was red raspberry leaves, and I'd apply that. And in about a week and a half, that would go away. And I used to get that maybe once every 2 years, and I got it for several years. But since I've been doing our work like this on a regular basis with the eyes, I haven't gotten that in, I don't even know how long. It has to have been at least 5 years, 7 years, something like that. So I know with myself, I've seen little chronic things like those two things disappear. And I have to attribute it to this work. I've also noticed a lot of times in the winter, if somebody's sick and around me, I'm not really getting sick, or I don't get it as badly as they have it. So the overall immune system seems to be better also. And that I've noticed for quite some time. So I think if we consistently do this work, we all notice things that maybe were popping up with us that now just don't seem to occur. And again, those things are health, wellness, immune system related things that we don't really want to be popping up. And really, until I started doing all this work on a regular basis, so we can go to the abdominal area. I would still find those things popping up. And I think especially as we get older, doing this kind of work is really, really important, because we have a tendency to notice that our friends, some of them are not even around anymore, but other ones are definitely getting old, and things seem to be falling apart. And then we notice in ourselves, we don't feel we're getting as old as they look and are and move. And we still feel kind of younger and pretty healthy. And of course, there's more of this work we could do on a regular basis. I think probably, doing about an hour a day is really, really good. Doing more than that is even better, because there are some days I might do 2 or 3 hours during that day. Let's do the one where we pull everything into the center. And so I might add in more difficult things. So what we do in class here is the basic foundational stuff that's good to do every day. And then I have a tendency to do movements that are more difficult for the body to do. And let's do the stomach meridian one. And those are the things that I think are helpful to keep us younger also, is to add in that more difficult work. We did that difficult one yesterday with the golden passes. So that one is definitely harder to do. But you notice when you do that one, and then let's go to the crease. You're working with the connective tissue in the bones and definitely making yourself a lot stronger. And the nice thing about that one is you don't have to use weights to do it. So whenever we use weights to do things, there can be more of a possibility of injury. And so just using the body to do this stuff, it's pretty hard to injure yourself. Let's do the back of the knees. I mean, you can pull things, as we've all noticed. That usually happens if we're maybe doing too much work that we're not used to. Maybe too much lifting because we're moving things around that day. Maybe we're trying to rebuild the garden, all in one day, and we're spending 5 to 8 hours doing that, and doing a lot of sort of twisting, going up and down, and way too many movements of that. So keep on doing the back of the knees. I'm just going to blow my nose again. So we can pull, let's do our yin-yang pad. We can pull certain connective tissue. And that could be fascia, it could be tendons, it could be ligaments, it could be a combination of all of those. Because typically, that connective tissue, we don't work with it very much at the gym or most of the things we do. Most of the gym-related work is all muscle work. Because even the cardio we do is really muscle work. And so when we do something like we did yesterday with the golden passes, we're definitely working with the fascia and the connective tissue there and winding and twisting that pretty well. And we're going to notice, especially with that movement, I mean, we can notice it maybe with brocade, but the golden passes is definitely more difficult to do. And so when we get to be better at doing that one, we definitely notice our strength is improving quite a bit. And it's good to do, say, you know, plank for a minute. Good to do. On the outside of the legs. And even some push-ups, but you want to do push-ups, say, very slowly. So you go up very slowly, you go down very slowly, and new science has sort of found that, say you do push-ups for 2 minutes or up to 2 minutes on the back of the legs, and you just do it slowly up and down to failure, where you really can't do the push-up anymore. And that failure moment at first might happen before the 2 minutes. But working slowly with the entire system actually builds better muscle tone faster, if that's what we're interested in. Now, a lot of people are more interested in building up bigger muscles everywhere, in the abdominal area, in the arm area. But that isn't something that Asian workout typically looks at that as being something that you don't want to do too much of that. Let's just do the 4 gates before we do the Waizawa movements. Because if we build up that muscle structure and it's too big, when we look at that, what we actually are seeing is constant tension that's holding in that space. That means blood flow and qi, lymphatic, all those things really can't get through that space as well as it can if that space is more open. And so working on the muscles is good. It's a lot easier working on those than the tendons. They're a lot easier to train because the density of the space is not as dense at all in the muscles as it is, say, in the tendons. So let's do liver 3.
Squatting was really good for us to do. Okay, so let's do Wise Owl.
And so any movements we make during the day, we want to be mindful about them and think about them as being similar to the movements we're doing here. Rhinoceros. And so that would mean if we're very mindful, we're keeping everything 70 to 80% of the maximum in that movement. We're also noticing if we're trying to do too much all at once with movements that we're not used to doing. So that's going to mean the body's going to notice that at the end of the day. And there's going to be a tenderness or a pain going on in certain areas. So let's do snake body. So Mel, since you're having that little tweak in the back, snake body is going to be really good. Even the winding, twisting movement we did was really good. And even really the neck movements, because everything's connected in this area. Let's do that, a couple more rib cage movements. So let's do the hawk penetrating the forest. So remember that one is this palm here and the other palm like this. And so what we're doing is we're taking this top palm, which is my left here, and we're letting the rib cage roll the movement. And so what's happening is the rib cage is doing movements sort of like this. I'm exaggerating it. So the bottom palm is kind of coming to the left like this, as the left top palm is coming back like that. So you feel the rib cage turn to do that. And then this palm is turning as this one comes around, and now we're like that. And then it's the same thing on this side. So we rotate back and then come like that. So it's a movement like this. And you really feel the rib cage doing this movement. So you don't feel the arms just doing this. Because if your arms are just doing this, you feel a little movement in your back, but not very much. And so really when you do a good turn here.
It's like our cloud movement, right?
Yep. And then here. So you kind of stop here more forward, but then the rib cage turns and rotates. So this whole area, I'm going to get over here, you might be able to see it better. This whole area rotates around like that, and see how the arms are automatically moving to do this again. So that you should definitely be feeling in the back area. You don't want to do too many reps of that. But what you could do over the next few days is, do snake body a few times a day, do maybe 3 repetitions of hawk penetrating the forest, and maybe do it a couple times a day. I mean, my back can feel that already. And then there's lion rolling the ball. So lion rolling the ball is more circular with the rib cage. So the ball is rolling. So with the hawk, we were kind of doing this kind of thing, which is a little more angular. The lion rolling the ball is really feeling that you're rolling the ball as you let the rib cage move. It's still, the rib cage is really moving right and left quite a bit. But remember when we roll a ball, even if it's a small ball, we're trying to keep the Lao Gung points connected so that we're really holding the ball. So same thing with this much bigger ball. So when the lion rolls the ball, we're still trying to keep a connection here. And again, this is going to be another good movement for the back. I would say that Phoenix stretch is maybe the next thing you would do. So if you just did, and I would do all of the joint rotations that we do, but maybe when you get to snake body, you do hawk penetrating the forest, lion rolling the ball, add those in. And then you could add in the Phoenix stretch. So we'll just do one on each side. So we're inhaling here. We're exhaling. And you can exhale through your mouth with a little sigh. You get down to your first position of stretch and you hold it for a couple of seconds. And then the next inhale through the nose, exhale, sigh. I'm definitely kicking up a lot of stuff today by me doing this. So, first position, exhale again. Get your nose a little closer to the toes, hold that. And then the third inhale, exhale. Get a little closer, hold that. Then slowly come up. Reset like this, and then do the other side. So again, it's turning the rib cage so that your nose is going to line up with the middle of the toes. The inhale here, the exhale. Gets us into that first stretching position. Hold that for a second, and then the inhale, the exhale. Stretch a little bit more, hold that. The inhale, the exhale. Stretch a little bit more, hold that. Come back up again. And remember, only do 70–80% of that stretch. And that's one repetition. So usually I tell people do 3 reps of that one. So you go back to this side, go back to that side, and this side, that side again. And then what I follow up with is our usual routine of the hips. So between all of these, and again, don't overdo them. Don't try to do too many reps of anything. The consistency is better with just a few reps. That's going to loosen up that area. And that area got tweaked because that's the same area that you pulled a little bit more when you had that day where you did a lot of work. And so what your body's telling you, so let's do hula hips, is that that area still feels a little weak and needs some more conditioning. And so that's the takeaway you want, is that, oh, okay, I did something to, and that area again showed up as being a little weaker than maybe it could be.
Actually, what happened, Steve, was I had a new pillow, which was a chiropractor one with water in it. I
Okay.
put water in it, and that's why I ended up overextending my neck to one side
Okay.
and
Some of
making I'm
yeah.
getting cramp in the upper, like a pinched nerve kind of in the upper left back.
Yeah, so you want to notice sometimes I've used those chiropractic pillows. I'm not going to say anything negative about them, but basically, what I do is I use a very, very soft pillow, and I kind of, and one good thing to do, so depending on how you're sleeping, so a lot of people sleep on their side. If you know, sleeping on the stomach is probably the worst way to do things. Sleeping on your back is probably good, and you can just roll up a little towel or something to support the curve in the neck. But then if you move to the side, you need something a little different configuration. So I use a very, I tried some of those chiropractic pillows. They didn't really work well for me because, again, you might move from back to one side and then go to the other side for a little while. Typically, I find it's best not to sleep very long, say on the left side, because your heart is on this side. And when you sleep on the left side, there's a lot of compression into the heart with the lung, and it makes your heart work a lot harder at night. And so sleeping on the right side seems to be better if you're concerned about your health, heart health. The back is really good. But yeah, so I would say, since you know it's coming from the neck area, do some more of those neck movements. I would also add in like the pecking rice one, do that pecking rice one. But I would also do the one where you just let the chin go down like this, and then you go up like that. And you could also do the one where the head leans to the side and then leans to the other side. You might even add in the small circular movement. Remember, it's just really small when we do that circle. So it's good that so what's really good is when we feel any kind of pinching or tenderness going on, we always want to look to the cause of it and say to ourselves, how come I'm feeling that? So that's really good because you want to do that detective work, figure out where it came from, because then you want to stop that activity to begin with so that whatever pinching or stretching is happening, you're not continuing to do that. And then you start doing movements to alleviate whatever happened there. And again, pinching nerves and pulling tendons a little bit too much are things that we all can do pretty easily. So let's go to knees, and do our knees. I've tried a few of those, they sell a lot of different pillows. I've tried a few myself. Well, just because I grew up with headaches. So I was always looking for something.
Well, what did you say you did if you sleep, like if you sleep on your right side, do you also do a small towel?
Well, no, if you go on the back, you can roll up just a small towel, because just that little round towel. So in other words, let me just get something over here. This is a little bit smaller than we use, but basically you just take something and you're going to roll it up. So
Yeah, I have a tiny little bolster too that's small.
exactly. So then, you can have that.
But do you also use a pillow too?
Well, I use a pillow, but like I said, the pillow that I use,
Very soft, you said. So soft pillow, and then add that to it.
No, basically what I do with the soft pillow is because it's so soft, I basically just, so you know how the pillow's like this? I basically turn the pillow so that one of the edges is facing upward, and I put my neck on that, and that goes down, and the sides of the pillow sort of come up like this.
Okay, so sort of you fold it a little bit if it's really soft. But
So,
if you're on your side though, that's the thing. I like to sleep on my side, and that's when I injured it on the right side.
so,
What can you use on the right side?
if you're sleeping on the side, then that very soft pillow can again just be against your neck here, and again, it deflates quite a bit. So again, it just acts as a little bit of a roll up. But typically, it's going to be your shoulder that's going to be impacted. So what you can notice is, so some people will have their arm underneath the pillow. So if this is the pillow,
Yep.
I'm like this, and your arm is underneath it. So that can impact this joint here going into the shoulder blade.
That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. Except I don't extend my arm. I have my arm sort of under me, not underneath the pillow, but I'm holding myself sort of with my arm bent.
Exactly. So a lot of people will be either bent or straight like that. So
Yep.
whichever way, though, you're still pressure there. What you can try is, if you're going to lay on your side, you can have the pillow here, and you can have your arm shooting forward. So now you're not really on your arm.
Okay.
So you can try that. And then usually what I'll do is the other arm will be here as I'm laying on my side. And the other thing is, if you're laying on your side, it's a real, so some people will either go into a more fetal position on their side, or they'll straighten out. But what's really helpful also for your back, if you're going to sleep on your side, is they have an extra pillow that you have in between your knees here. So
Yep.
your knees and your ankles aren't pushed like this.
Yeah.
You have that pillow there, and then you can even, so you could be like this, but you could also be like that, so that this foot is kind of going over more toward the bed. So all of that, you kind of start to notice, okay, how's my structure when I sleep?
Mm-hmm.
It's being twisted and turned. The idea here is, if you have that pillow where your knees are, it's adding that extra piece.
Yeah, for alignment.
Yeah, for alignment, so that the lower back is not going out of alignment. And I've been doing that for years too. I always just have that pillow here. So those are the things you would really kind of look to do. But when you get into that position, you would kind of notice again your structure. Is it being twisted too much? Again, with the shoulder, do you have the shoulder bent, and your pillow weight in your head is really all on the shoulder here? Because then typically you'll notice in the morning that your shoulder either hurts, or the inside of the shoulder blade hurts. So that's another area to those are other areas to look at when we're sleeping, is we want to keep our bone structure as aligned as it can be, and not too twisted and kind of, because that'll pinch a lot of the nerves in this area.
That's what I think happened. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I've got some tools now, thanks to you. Everything you share, really, for me, it's like gold. Thank you.
Yeah. We all run into the same problems with ourselves. It's just that because of training and other things, I've kind of just figured some stuff out maybe before somebody else has, just because of, again, the training I've had from really good teachers. But then everything happening to me that happens to everybody. And so, I'm older, I'm a little bit older than most people in class. And so everything's already happened to me pretty much. And so I usually figured out a way to fix that. But again, our postural alignment is a big deal. So the thing to remember is when you're sitting, and I have, I have a too soft leather couch that I can slouch in, but I try actually, I put a pillow in the back there so that even if I'm back in the couch and it's sinking, my posture is still pretty good most of the time. And that's what you want to look at when you're sitting, is to make sure that you're not, there isn't this flexion curve when we're sitting, because that's putting a lot of pressure again on the organs, and we can't even really we can't get that much oxygen into the lungs if we're really upright. Then in that more meditative position when we're sitting, then what we notice is oh, I can breathe better. The organs aren't compressed because you're not curling them or slumping or any of that. The other thing we notice when we sit like this is our mood is always good. You can't be, if you're like this, your mood is like, I don't want to do anything, I'm depressed, so posture has a lot to do with that mood. Sitting up straight like this, the first thing people notice, which is why they start slouching a lot, is that because they didn't really have good posture most of their lives, they didn't sit up straight for all those times we sit. And what people usually notice is, oh that inner back area, like around the shoulder blades especially, will start feeling a little tender. The only reason for that is, again, that structure hasn't been trained to get stronger. And so sitting up straight is really good for that. And then, and then we can, slump back a little bit. But then I always find myself going back to that position again for most of the time, and then slumping back. The other thing now is either phone or keyboard or a monitor, and then, having, the chicken head kind of go forward. And so that's another thing that's a problem with pain issues and all sorts of other issues. The other thing that's good about sitting well with posture is then when you go to get up, now your back is stronger and you're standing up straight. So one thing you notice with older people is, so if your head is just even a little bit forward, that's a lot of extra top heavy weight here. And some people are even like this, and then they can get that little hump in that back there. And especially you'll see people with walkers, are just always curled over like this because the handles of the walker are really too low, and they really should be raised up a little bit so that people are using the walker more like this. But what I try to tell people to use a walker is, the walker is there as a safety feature. You're still supposed to be using your legs and your body to walk. You're not supposed to be just doing this where you're curled over and you're walking like that. But that's what people do, and that should be corrected by a medical person that sets them up with that immediately. Because again, now you have that curvature that just becomes more permanent. But that's a big deal with pain issues in people that get older, is it's just a postural alignment. So even when we're sleeping, we want to think in terms of that postural alignment. But then when we're sitting, and walking or running or doing anything, I see a lot of runners, and you can start looking at some runners and go, they're not running correctly. I mean, it just looks like their body is just twisting and turning or doing things that it shouldn't be doing, instead of, being in alignment and going like this. And so they should stop running and first fix their alignment and then start running again so that their alignment is good. So when you start noticing postural alignment in yourself and other people, you'll notice a lot of things going wrong. And that is really the main cause of all these little pain issues that come up with people and they don't realize it. And it's not something that the medical doctors are usually looking at your posture or asking about anything like that. And so that's kind of a missing link too. So just pay attention to, again, posture when you're doing anything. We only have a few minutes left, so we'll let's just quickly go through just a few of the meridian movements. And see, these movements are, these movements that we do here are good too, because again, and you can do it a little more physically because then you're getting a little more of that physical work. So especially, where you are right now, I would say when you do any of this stuff, do it with a little more squatting. Because again, you want to work with that physical layer just a little bit more to get it to stretch just a little bit more. So let's do the stretching of fingers and toes, gradually releasing, going around the belt area, and again, the sinking downward. So gradually stretching fingers and toes, releasing, rolling back. Let's do one more of those. So stretching, releasing. And then the next one is that sort of yawning stretch upward, where we want to really feel the whole body. So you feel it coming from the bottom of your feet, and you feel that stretch, and then you let that stretch go and let everything sink downward. And you let your breath help the movement. So that's another important thing to kind of watch when we're doing movements, is let our breath help to guide the movement. So the inhale is really pouring upward. We're letting our spine and our rib cage expand a little bit. But our breath goes all the way out, our fingertips there. And then the exhale lets everything pour downward with that heaven yang energy. And then we can do the ball rolling one. So this is a good one because, again, we're turning that back a little bit. So roll the ball a half a turn, come forward, roll the ball a half a turn. So this is another movement that you could do because, again, you're working that back area. And so one thing you want to notice when we do these movements is, what is moving internally and then externally. And then that separation of heaven and earth. This is kind of a good one also because we're getting that stretch. We let everything relax. And then we get that outward stretch where we connect with nature. Let everything come back into the center again. And again, just feel how internally your body is stretching to do this external movement. And your breath is helping that expansion, contraction that's happening physically. And again, it's really relaxed. So we're doing it nice and gently and relaxed. But we know at the same time, so let's do the 3 gatherings. So this cat and cow movement here is also a good one. And it's a little more gentle of a cat and cow movement than, say, you do in yoga. So let's just do one more set of that. So it's gathering the heaven energy, depositing that in the upper dantian. gathering, feeling, compassion, joy, gratitude, letting that pour into that middle dantian heart center. And then earth energy going into the lower dantian. And then just the microcosmic orbit rotation. And then we can just do those affirmations by chi and blood flowing smoothly. I am filled with peace and joy. I am free of pain and illness. I am blessed with good fortune. My chi and blood flowing smoothly. I am filled with peace and joy. I am free of pain and illness. I am blessed with good fortune. My chi and blood flowing smoothly. I am filled with peace and joy. I am free of pain and illness. I am blessed with good fortune. And then whenever we're ready, we can just open our eyes, bring our awareness back outside again. And thank you for coming to practice together.
Thank you so much, Steve. This has been very helpful.
Yeah, so just, remember to kind of do some of those movements, just don't overdo them. If you notice that when you do them, you're getting too tender, for a half an hour later, then just back off and do less reps, but just consistently do it every day, those, and that'll really help to strengthen and bring back that area. But it's something that I would pay attention to for probably a month or two to just really strengthen that middle back area that seems to be a little weaker than what it could be. And again, good posture sitting up helps a lot with that area. Just good.
Yeah, you were describing it, and I realized if I put my hands in namaste position, that helps straighten me out.
Yeah, actually, that you can feel it in your back. So this is part of what I talk about is when we come into a position or a movement, notice what that's doing. Because when you do the namaste, when the thumbs are even touching the sternum here, notice what's that doing to my middle back and my scapula and the shoulders and all the rest of it, because again, that movement is causing something to happen. And again, if you relax into that movement, because again, you can feel maybe tension building up starting in a movement, but then you just, with your breath, you just let everything relax and settle. And that is very, very helpful.
Thank you. You have a great week, a great rest of your day. And then it's Thursday, so have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, I know. We got Thursday again. Okay, Mel, take care.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye, Steve. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.